the honourable member for his question, but there's no concession that we gave. We actually eliminated 232 tariffs. We got our environmental protection. We got our content requirement. So I don't know what he's talking about.
The honourable member will have 2 minutes and 15 seconds left for questions and comments when this question continues, when this debate continues after question period. Statements by members. Déclaration de député.
Statements by members.
Toronto Danforth.
Public transit is an important part of city building, and it's also a critical part of our plan to transition to a low-carbon economy. I'm proud of the commitment that our government has made to support communities across the country, and especially in my city of Toronto, to build public transit. Just over a year ago, the Mayor of Toronto announced that a critical piece of our public transit, the Downtown Relief Line, was shovel-ready. This was a plan that was supported by the community, and the federal government had provided support in designing this plan. Unfortunately, these plans were thrown out by Doug Ford, who imposed a new proposal on the community, one that will impact parks, a community centre, a seniors' home. It's raising serious concerns in the community about safety and quality of life. Over 800 residents attended a meeting this week to raise these concerns. And I want to applaud the members of the East End Transit Alliance for making sure that these community voices are heard and that there is meaningful consultation. Let's build safe transit and let's build it right.
The honourable member for Langley Aldergrove.
Madam Speaker, I rise today to pay tribute to Canada's leading faith-based post-secondary institution located in my riding, Langley, British Columbia. Trinity Western University is positioned as a truly global university with campuses in Langley, Richmond, Washington State, and with university partnerships in Africa, India, China, and Southeast Asia. Trinity also continues to have a positive, significant impact here on Parliament Hill through its Ottawa campus, the Laurentian Leadership Centre. Trinity has earned a reputation for excellence in academics, research, and sports. It holds 3 Canadian research chairs and regularly has its alumni on Canadian Olympic teams. As of today, Trinity represents the #1 ranked team in Canada for both men's and women's volleyball. Go Spartans!
The honourable member for Hull-Elmer. Thank you, Madam Speaker. 1 month ago, the Gîte Ami, a temporary community housing centre in Hull, Ottawa, for people facing social exclusion and homelessness, burned down. The social and economic impacts of homelessness are obvious. We are determined to help those in need. And we feel that even one homeless Canadian is too many. Thanks to the hard work of Gîte Ami, the Integrated Health and Social Services Centre, and the Hull-Gatineau Soup Kitchen, the population affected by this fire will receive support. Moreover, the Gîte Ami building will be reopening its doors mid-February. I can't say enough how resilient the people of Hull-Elmer are. It's not what happens to us that matters. It's how we react to it. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The honourable member for Manicouagan. Madam Speaker, it's with great emotion today that I pay tribute to a major woman in politics in Manicouagan, Madame Girard. She passed away last November after courageously battling against MLS. She was the first mayor in Manicouagan. She was a strong feminist, and she advanced women's rights, children's rights, and seniors' rights. Throughout her career as a militant, and she defended many causes and undertook many projects. I'd like to benefit from this opportunity to say a few words to her. Arlene, you are one of the most inspirational, courageous women who opened the path to other women in politics, and I'm very grateful to you, and I hope you will continue to live through me and all other women who will follow in your path. Thank you. The honourable member for Sudbury.
Apollo Restaurant celebrates its 50th anniversary in March 2020. It was established on the Kingsway in 1970 by George and Tula Sakaleris, who immigrated from small villages in southern Greece. The Apollo introduced Siberians to Greek cuisine, something that was somewhat exotic in the early 1970s. Unfortunately, George, who enjoyed golfing at Cedar Green, watching the Montreal Canadiens, and playing cards with friends, left us in 2007. Nevertheless, the Apollo is still owned and operated by Tula and her family.
So the next time you're in Sudbury, why not drop by this famous restaurant?
This restaurant, Evkaristo Tula.
The honourable member for Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to dedicate my first member statement in this House to the residents of Chatham-Kent-Leamington. They proudly live in Canada's most southerly riding, farming some of Canada's most productive soils and adding value to our farm products and our food sector. It is the people in our vibrant greenhouse industry, entrepreneurs and their employees in the manufacturing sector, our healthcare, education and retail sectors, our veterans and first responders who anchor Canada's most southerly points. Their families include youth, whose future we want to keep locally, and our seniors, whose contributions to our country we never want to forget. They live in two larger centres, Chatham and Leamington, and in the towns of Wheatley and Ridgetown, Comber and Blenheim, Merlin and Tilbury, Stony Point, Highgate and Erio, along with many others. It is an honour for me to bring their voice to this chamber and represent their interests in this House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honourable member for Coast of Bay Central Notre Dame.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, sorry. Over 1 billion people around the world suffer from neglected tropical diseases, or NTDs. They are diseases that we as Canadians don't always think about, but they have a major impact on some of the world's poorest and most vulnerable people. NTDs are complex and not always easily overcome. They can cause additional illnesses, disability, disfigurement, stigma, and social isolation, and these can lead to lost opportunities for development in children, socioeconomic problems for those infected and their families. However, there is hope. Thanks to coordinated global efforts, progress is being made. Medicines and partnerships are available and advancements continue. Yesterday was World NTD Day, and I'd like to commend those devoted Canadians who are working diligently on behalf of those suffering from NTDs. I know that Canada and everyone in this House will continue to play a leadership role on health policy around the world to end neglected tropical diseases and bring hope and health to everyone. Thank you.
The honourable member for Argenteuil-La-Petite-Nation. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Séminaire du Sacré-Cœur, a college in my riding of Argenteuil-La-Petite-Nation, welcomed a group of 10 Ukrainian students for 2 weeks last fall. The group included students from the lycée in Zaporizhzhia, Ukraine. And these young Ukrainians were housed with families from the seminary, and they were able to discover the regions of Argenteuil and Petite Nation. They went on discovery hikes. They saw our beautiful nature and visited local artisans. The students also visited our nation's capital, Ottawa. The Ukrainian students formed friendships while discovering our beautiful French language. At the end of their stay, our guests even organized a Ukrainian Day, and they invited students from the seminary, and they were able to broaden their horizons. And in my writing, this was a great success.
Member for Saskatoon West.
Madam Speaker, the Sikh community is an integral thread in the fabric of my riding of Saskatoon West. Throughout my time as a home builder and a community volunteer, and now as a member of Parliament, I've made many great Sikh friends. One of them is my campaign manager, Gurpratap Kals, who we call Sonny. Without his involvement and help, I wouldn't be standing in this House today. I owe a special debt of gratitude to Sonny and my entire campaign team. I also want to thank Balveer Singh, a wonderful leader of the Sikh Society of Saskatoon. His work and leadership is invaluable to the people we all serve. Indeed, I have many Sikh friends like Manmeet Singh Sadra, or Manny, as many of us know him. Manny has recently won the Saskatchewan Party nomination as the candidate in the riding of Saskatoon-Fairview. Madam Speaker, please help me thank the Sikh community in Saskatoon and wish Manny the best of luck in the upcoming provincial election.
for Scarborough Centre.
Madam Speaker, it was a viral photo that touched so many hearts. A selfie of a mother and daughter in their airplane seats sent to the family they were on their way to see. Unfortunately, Sahar and Elsa would never make it home. Their flight out of Tehran was shot down shortly after takeoff. I asked Habib to reflect on their loss. His daughter Sahar had a kind and loving heart. She dedicated much of her time spreading positive energy and helping those in the community that needed a hand. His 8-year-old granddaughter Elsa was a carbon copy of her mother, an old soul and natural leader who sought to protect the weak and make new students feel welcome. A future politician, a family thought. Sahar and Elsa did finally make it home. They were laid to rest on Sunday. We grieve with their family and all the lives they touch. Sahar and Elsa will be deeply missed.
The honourable member for Lethbridge.
It's an honor for me to rise in the House today to pay tribute to the Citizen of the Year 2020 in Picture Butte. His name is Mr. Cor Van Ray. Though he is currently one of Canada's top producers in the beef industry, that wasn't always the case. By casting vision, taking risks, building partnerships, and just good old-fashioned hard work, he became one of our nation's very best in the industry. As an immigrant to Canada, Cor came with very little. He started off as a simple farm laborer, but eventually bought some land. Throughout his journey, there were many ups and downs, but his resilience served him well. Cor is not only esteemed for his success in agriculture, but for his tremendously big heart. Cor has generously supported the establishment of 3 family swimming pools and has contributed millions to the university and the college in my community. He recently gave $3.75 million to the YMCA. When asked about his philanthropy, he said, "I believe in sharing. I made good money farming. I share it." Cor, you are the salt of the earth. Thank you for selflessly investing in our community. Congratulations.
The honourable member for Richmond Arthabaska. Madam Speaker, on Sunday, more than 100 million North Americans will be gathering to watch the Super Bowl. Our eyes will be fixed on the Chiefs and the 49ers with Vince Lombardi in Miami. Like many Canadians and Quebecers, I would like to strongly encourage Laurent Duvernay, who is a member of the Chiefs and will play a key part of this game. The sport is now a religion in the United States, but we have the first doctor in the history of the NFL who will be playing in the Super Bowl. He's an excellent athlete, and he's an inspiration for an entire generation. He did university studies, and he has showed great determination. Madam Speaker, he is 6 feet 5 inches high, and we hope that he will live up to everyone's dreams, and we wish him an excellent Super Bowl. Thank you.
The honourable member for Winnipeg Centre.
Madam Speaker, on December 26, 2019, a fire broke out in Winnipeg Centre, burning an affordable apartment to the ground, in turn displacing almost 40 individuals, including children. They lost everything. The holiday season is a difficult time of the year for so many. The very worst time for such an event to occur, but our wonderful community of Winnipeg Centre came together. We opened my office and donations for the fire victims started pouring in. Local community organizations and service providers opened their doors in spite of the fact they had limited services over the holidays. A special thank you to my colleagues, City Councillor Cindy Gilroy and MLA Lisa Naylor and staff. Thank you. And to our superb team at my office, you go beyond the call of duty for Winnipeg Centre. I also want to extend well wishes to the fire victims as you rebuild your homes. Your courage and grace during this difficult time was moving. This is what community at the centre looks like, and we show it best in Winnipeg Centre.
The honourable member for Pointe-de-L'Île. Madam Speaker, first I would like to thank the citizens of Pointe-de-L'Île who have once again placed their confidence in me. Pointe-de-L'Île has extraordinary economic development. There are large spaces available for major projects on Montreal Island. However, much of this land must be decontaminated and lacks municipal infrastructure. The Government of Quebec and the City of Montreal have committed to massive investment in decontamination and for structured public transit. We know that Quebec did not receive its fair share of infrastructure investment during the last Parliament, only $97 per person versus the Canadian average of $703 per person, according to the PBO. Bloc Québécois is asking Ottawa to invest as much as Quebec does and the municipal government does to fund these crucial projects for Eastern Montreal, and I hope we will have the cooperation of the government and the opposition parties. Thank you.
The honourable member for North Island Powell River.
Wow, Madam Speaker, thank you so much. I would just like to take this opportunity to respectfully congratulate the Shelter Point Distillery. You know, this amazing distillery in my riding produces an amazing array of whiskey. Best of all, rye whiskey at the 2020 Canadian Whiskey Awards was that they took home. They got gold medals for Settle Cast Rye and Smoke Point Single Grain Whiskey. Several silver medals. So I just want to congratulate them so much for all their contributions to our community and for their great reputation of whiskey in Canada. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
The honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Madam Speaker, this past Sunday, a CTV reporter tweeted a photo of him next to an Asian barber wearing a surgical mask. His now deleted and apologized for tweet read, "Hopefully all I got today is a haircut." Yesterday, walking down a street here in Ottawa, I heard a conversation in passing. One man said to another, "Yeah, we're going to a restaurant in Chinatown for lunch." The other guy said in response, "You mean coronavirus town?" I gave him an earful. At a time when many Chinese Canadians are struggling with deep concerns for the welfare of friends and family in China, we must stand against the normalization of xenophobic mores against people of Asian descent. They are our brothers and sisters, and they deserve nothing other than support, compassion, and understanding. Today, I call upon all of us here to stand in solidarity with Chinese Canadians and to all those around the world affected by the coronavirus.
Yeah. The honourable member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Madame la Présidente,
Madam Speaker.
Si j'en ai mis un autre de spell, là, mais j'étais pas pour.
And mental health issues. Franca Damiani Carella, Comtesse de Vergola, rescapée de un.
Franca Carella was a refugee camp rescapee, a nurse, and a founder of the Vita Nova founder, and she passed away on January 17th. Franca, as her friends called her, was the founder and executive director of the Vita Nova Foundation. Since 1987, Vita Nova offered housing to those dealing with addiction, and she only asked them to want to change their lives.
Being in her presence with her wonderful, contagious smile and passion to assist others was inspiring. She was truly a trailblazer. Madam Speaker, Franca will be dearly missed by her family and all those that she touched, but her legacy will continue through Vita Nova. May we all emulate her warm-heartedness and the difference she made to individuals reaching for a hand. Reposa in pace, Franca. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Yesterday, the Liberal member from Cumberland Colchester appeared on national television to outline the government's response plan for coronavirus. As the government's representative, she said people going through airports should buy gloves, buy masks, and try not to touch anything. Is this the message the government is sending to Canadians? If the minister can't tell Canadians her plan, can she at least stop the Liberal backbench from spreading fear and panic?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to first of all thank the member from Calgary Nose Hill for her exceptionally eloquent reminder to all of us that there is very real risk in terms of spreading misinformation and fear. We are working diligently to make sure that all members of the House have accurate information, including members on our side and members of the public, as well as our healthcare allied professionals. We'll continue to do that and correct the misinformation as it arises. Thank you, member. Thank you, Mr.
Member for Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Madam Speaker, I think it's the Liberal backbench that needs to be reminded not to spread fear and panic. Monsieur le Président,
Madam Speaker, the World Health Organization has declared the coronavirus a global emergency, but the government is unable to answer even simple questions on its plan. Canadians in China are worried. The government must take this situation seriously. Can the minister tell us when she plans to confirm her plan to bring them home?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Well, thank you, Madam President. It's a great question in terms of how we proceed in a way that protects the health of Canadians both here in Canada and the health of Canadians abroad in China. We are working, as the member noted, on a plan to repatriate Canadians who wish to come back and support them in a way that protects their health and protects the health of all Canadians. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Madam Speaker, what's the plan? Canadians need more information. Once Canadians in China safely return to Canada, what is the protocol in place to protect Canadians at home? Will returners be mandated to remain in quarantine? If yes, for how long? The government has indicated that there will be an enhanced screening process. What does the screening process look like? And when will the government contact all of those who are on impacted flights for the confirmed cases already? Canadians need reassurance. Canadians need answers today.
What's the plan?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. And in talking about misinformation, it's difficult to contain spread of misinformation if we're conflating two separate issues. The member opposite has asked about the number of contacts that were beside the patient in Toronto who has since recovered. All of those people sitting within 2 meters have been contacted and confirmed as not having the coronavirus. So that piece is complete. In terms of returning people from China, I will note that China will not allow people who are ill to travel, and we'll have a very comprehensive screening process in partnership with Canadian healthcare professionals that will be on the ground. We'll continue to update as we go.
The Honourable Member,
The Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Madam Speaker, last November, the Liberal government created a Department of Middle Class Prosperity. When questioned about what the middle class is, the new minister mentioned that she didn't really know, that she didn't have precise data. She said, and I quote, they are the families who have a quality of life, who can register their children in hockey and various activities. Madam Speaker, can the minister now give us her definition of what the middle class is? The Honourable Minister. Madam Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague opposite for his question. Since the first day we were elected, our government has worked hard to strengthen and expand the middle class. We know that people want a home that is affordable. They want good education for their children and a secure retirement. That is why we are going to be focusing on those efforts and why we have taken the first steps to cut tax for people in the middle class. We will continue to work for the middle class, and I would invite my colleague opposite to do the same. The Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Madam Speaker, I'm going to help my colleague opposite. The middle class is 81% of families paying more taxes today since the Liberals arrived on the scene. It's families who are fed up paying too much tax. It's families who are trying to make ends meet and who are facing financial difficulties. It's families who are paying for the subsidies to Loblaws and MasterCard because of ridiculous decisions made by this government. If the minister wants to help the middle class, then she needs to ask the Minister of Finance to stop spending the way he is at the expense of Canadian families. The Honourable Minister. As the opposition is focusing on a number, we are taking action. And that's why the middle class, our work for the middle class speaks for itself. In 2015, when we were elected, we cut taxes for the middle class while asking the wealthiest Canadians to pay more. We put in place a Canada benefit for children, and we cut taxes this year at the start of our mandate. We are going to continue to work for the middle class to ensure that they have an affordable life. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Madam Speaker, for years we've been saying the same thing. Multiplying targeted infrastructure programs with rigid criteria simply doesn't work. The program for dealing with flooding is paralyzed. Because there's no agreement with our national government in Quebec, not a single project has been funded. No money's been transferred. Meanwhile, flooding is getting worse, and people are calling for help. When will the government do the only thing it can do? Transfer the money. The Honourable Minister for Infrastructure. I'd like to thank my colleague opposite for her question. Clearly, we have taken a stand and are investing in Quebec. We are investing in infrastructure to make communities more resilient. We're investing in public transit. There are a number of projects in the province. We're going to continue working with Quebec and the municipalities. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. But not in this case, Madam Speaker. Because of climate change, flooding is more extensive and frequent. The ones that are supposed to happen every 100 years are happening every 5 years. They're commonplace. People are dreading the arrival of spring. The money remains frozen in Ottawa because Ottawa wants to make all the decisions and step up strict criteria for its programs. Madam Speaker, what's it going to take? What kind of global warming are we going to have to see to free up this money? The Honourable Minister. Madam Speaker, clearly we are working with Quebec. We have worked on 10 projects to make communities more resilient. We've got the tramway in Quebec City, the Champlain Bridge, the Blue Line. We are working with Quebec and will continue to do so. Clearly, we need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and ensure that our communities are more resilient.
Island Powell River. Madam Speaker, in 2018, this House voted unanimously to support an NDP motion that meant that all the money left on the table at the end of the year for our veterans would go into the next fiscal budget. Not only did this not happen, the total money budgeted went down $127 million. And at the end of the fiscal year, there was still over $100 million sitting on the table. This is happening while veterans are struggling every day to get their needs met. Shame on this government. Can you please explain to this House and to veterans why?
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire du ministre des...
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
For a question, our benefits are demand-driven. This means that the money is always available to veterans that come forward. We are not leaving any money unspent. We are making sure that the money is available for all our veterans. We know that all members of this House want to see the veterans taken care of, and that's exactly what we will be doing and continue to do. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg Centre.
Madam Speaker, when it comes to Indigenous kids, this government continues to willfully and recklessly discriminate against First Nations children on reserve. They have fought court order after court order and are ignoring the unanimous will of this House. The Prime Minister is so committed to his crusade to deny these kids justice that he has spent over $5 million on court fees to fight them. Why does this Prime Minister think this money is better spent on lawyers rather than on children?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank
Minister
you,
of
Justice. For this
Justice.
question. It's a very important issue. What we stand by and we fully agree is that compensation to First Nations children must be forthcoming for those who are harmed by past government policies. We're seeking a solution to this issue that is comprehensive, fair, and equitable for all First Nations children related to child and family services. The specific details with respect to payment and costs associated with the litigation are covered by solicitor-client privilege. It would not be appropriate for me to comment further on that particular issue.
Excellent. The honourable member for Lethbridge.
The current government recently gave MasterCard almost $50 million. Now, bear in mind, these are taxpayer dollars. Now, as if that wasn't enough, the story continues to evolve. We recently found out, thanks to Post Millennial, that actually it was a former chief of staff within the Liberal Party who is now functioning as the chief lobbyists for MasterCard and secured this money. Now, she also happens to be a maximum donor to the Liberal Party of Canada. Coincidence? I think not. Why is it that the Liberals always seem to get paid while Canadians always seem to foot the bill?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology and Economic Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's obvious that this is an investment in Canadians' data protection and Canadian jobs. Our government is investing in a new world-class cybersecurity centre in Vancouver, leveraging $100+ million in private sector investment, literally hundreds of millions of dollars in private sector investment. It's going to create hundreds of new jobs, including for co-op students, and it's going to protect Canadians from cyber threats in an increasingly digital world. That's what Canadians are asking us to do, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
Honourable member for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Thank you. Countless hours working as a top aide to Liberal ministers. Years of maximizing our donations to the Liberal Party. Years of working as a lobbyist to MasterCard. Multiple meetings with the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology. Cost to the taxpayer, $50 million. Ew. Ending Liberal corruption, now that will be priceless. Hey, why do Liberal insiders continue to receive millions of dollars while Canadians are failing to meet their minimum payment to MasterCard?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry.
Madam Speaker, the Conservative member's outrage knows no bounds. Our job as a government is to attract investment in Canada, create great Canadian jobs, and protect Canadians from cybersecurity threats. We have leveraged hundreds of millions of dollars from the private sector, and MasterCard could have implemented a centre of excellence in cybersecurity anywhere in the world, but they chose Vancouver, and that's great news for Canada.
The honourable member for Kelowna Lake Country.
Madam Speaker, as Canadians get their credit card bills in the mail, MasterCard gets a check for $50 million from taxpayers thanks to the Liberals.
Shameful.
This is a multinational, hugely profitable company. Today, the Post Millennial reported that coincidentally, MasterCard's chief lobbyist is a former Liberal aide who has personally donated thousands of dollars to the Liberal Party. When will this government stop wasteful spending of taxpayer dollars with their Liberal friends?
That's a great question.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for the question because, as I said before, manufactured outrage. I'd like to quote the Leader of the Opposition from September 6 in the press release where he said, "It is vital that the government adopt new policies and keep up with technology to make sure that Canadians and their money and their personal information is protected." I'm sure members opposite would agree that we need to invest in technology and centres like this cybersecurity centre in Vancouver so that Canadians' data is protected and they have confidence when they're banking online. This is what we're investing in. We're very proud to do it.
I do want to remind members, especially on the opposition side, that they had the opportunity to ask the question without being interrupted, and I would ask them not to interrupt when someone, excuse me, I would just ask that we have order in the House so that we can get through question periods so people can understand the questions and answers, especially those who are listening at home. The honourable member for Steveston, Richmond East.
Madam Speaker, it's well known that this Liberal government loves handing out corporate welfare. $12 million to refrigerate Loblaws, $40 million to automate BlackBerry, $50 million to secure MasterCard, lobbied by donors and a former chief of staff to provide. Yet they committed only $10 million to combat money laundering across Canada, a crisis estimated to worth over $7 billion in my home province of British Columbia alone. Does this Prime Minister like investing in corporate welfare more than he likes protecting Canada from corruption?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry.
Madam Speaker, Canadians are using connected devices more and more, and they want to know that their financial services, like banking, when they're doing this, they want to know their data and their privacy is protected. So that's why we're investing in a cybersecurity center, and that's why our government is leveraging hundreds of millions of dollars, doing exactly what government should do to protect Canadians. We're going to ensure that Canadians get those investments and that every taxpayer dollar leverages many more from the private sector. It's good governance.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The PBO has told us that the Liberals don't have a plan for the billions of dollars being invested as part of some 50 programs and the responsibility of 30 departments and agencies. Investing in Canada fails, in fact, to create wealth for the middle class, fails to deliver on the ground, and it fails to provide follow-up and transparency. Will the Prime Minister respect the will of the House and give the Auditor General the resources necessary so that he can do his important job? The Honourable Minister. We have always said openness and transparency are characteristics of our government. We welcome public oversight, parliamentary oversight of our infrastructure program. The failure was under the Conservatives. They said they would be cutting investments. I would like to know what the member opposite would like to cut. The tramway in Quebec City, the Champlain Bridge, investment in affordable housing, the Blue Line. The Honourable Member. None of that, Madam Speaker. They're unable to deliver on the ground because they haven't built anything. They can't be accountable to Parliament. They're unable to provide a complete investment plan for the $186 billion. Parliamentarians have spoken, Madam Speaker. The Auditor General must investigate this Liberal fiasco. Instead of sending $50 million to MasterCard, will the Prime Minister, who happily uses the credit card with no payment date, ensure that the Auditor General has the money needed to fulfill this mandate? The Honourable Minister for Infrastructure. Madam Speaker, I will reiterate we are happy to have a public and parliamentary oversight over our infrastructure program. Investments in infrastructure are in the area of public transit, to make our communities more resilient, to create jobs, and to grow our economy, and to leave our children with a healthier environment. We will continue. The Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou. Madam Speaker, the government wants to enter 3,900 civilian employees at the RCMP into the Phoenix pay system. They said, no, there's no problem anymore with Phoenix. But the Minister of Public Safety confirmed the opposite. And I quote, "Our government knows that employees and their families continue to experience stress and inconvenience due to pay issues." Why is the government imposing Phoenix on 3,900 civilian employees without their consent, knowing full well that it is a cause of stress and inconvenience? The Honourable Minister. Madam Speaker.
Servants deserve to be paid accurately and on time for their important work. We have made progress stabilizing the pay system. Over the past 2 years, we have reduced the number of pending transactions by 39%. Over the same period of time, the backlog of transactions with financial implications has decreased by 43%. We will continue working closely with the RCMP management to ensure a smooth transition. We continue to work with all departments and agencies to improve the timeliness and accuracy of HR.
The Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou. Madam Speaker, I've got figures too. 74% of employees last year had problems during a transfer. So, if that's an improvement, well, then I'm happy that I wasn't there when it started. The Phoenix system has been broken since the outset. The Prime Minister asked 2 cabinet members to end it once and for all. Yesterday, the Minister for Digital Government confirmed and stated we're working to find a modern, reliable system. So Phoenix isn't a modern, reliable system, nor has it ever been. So I will repeat my question. Why put 3,900 more employees into this system?
The Honourable Minister of Public Services and la Présidente, je m'excuse.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We have taken important steps to stabilize the pay system, the Phoenix pay system, and we continue to work with all parties involved, including the unions and employees, to move forward. Our government remains determined to help employees and to resolve pay problems as quickly as possible.
Honourable Member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Madam Speaker, whenever a tragedy occurs, we should reflect on what we could have done to prevent it. The murder of Marilyn Levesque in Quebec City is one such case. We know that someone with a history of violence against women was involved. We also know that this person was permitted to go on day parole and interact with vulnerable women. The Liberal government was warned by former parole officers that their reckless reforms would undermine public safety. So when is this Liberal government going to take responsibility for their failure to protect innocent Canadians?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the tragic murder of Ms. Levesque should never have occurred. A thorough investigation with external advisors will take place to determine all of the circumstances that gave rise to this horrendous, heinous crime. The investigation will be transparent, and the findings will be shared with the public. It is our foremost priority to keep Canadians safe, and we will work tirelessly to prevent similar tragedies from ever occurring again.
The Honourable Member for Medicine Hat Cardston.
Madam Speaker, Marilyn Levesque was killed by a repeat violent offender out on parole. He was out because Liberal-appointed parole board members granted his release despite knowing the plan to use sex workers to manage his risk to women. Just think about that. This kind of incompetence is putting lives at risk by allowing dangerous offenders back on our streets. When will the minister fire those parole board members and launch an external investigation into those types of appointments?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, public safety is the first and most important consideration for all parole decisions. The Parole Board of Canada makes these decisions independently based on long-standing criteria established to promote safe and effective reintegration into society for offenders. Mr. Speaker, in this tragic case, both the Commissioner of Correctional Services and the chair of the Parole Board have undertaken to initiate a full investigation into all of the circumstances. If persons are found to have engaged in misconduct, they will be held accountable, and if there are additional measures to be taken, we'll take them.
The Honourable Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen, Nicola.
Madam Speaker, after weeks of confusion, the Liberals finally opened the Canada Summer Jobs program yesterday. Now, first they cut the hours to say they were funding more positions. Then they prevented church groups from applying. Now it's reported that the department is swimming in red tape and is in chaos. When the Member of Parliament for Carleton ran the program, it ran perfectly. How are the Liberals so terrible at running a summer jobs program for students?
Secretary to the Minister of Employment, Workforce and Development and Disability Inclusion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank the member opposite for the question. Canada's prosperity depends on young Canadians getting the education and experience they'll need to succeed in their careers, keeping our economy growing and our middle class thriving. We are excited about the rolling out 70,000 jobs for our youth, and that's why the Canada Summer Jobs Program is an important part of our government's youth employment strategy. We're providing young Canadians with paid summer jobs where they can gain valuable experience and earn money to help pay for school. I'm pleased to share with the House that the application period is now open, and I encourage him.
The honourable member for Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes Brock.
Namaste, Madam Speaker. We've learned that part of the Prime Minister's disastrous 2018 trip to India was supposed to include a yoga summit with Bollywood celebrities and the Prime Minister of India, while we now know that an invitation to a convicted terrorist and photo ops with elaborate wardrobe changes were all part of the government's well-calculated plans to improve relations with India. But for some reason, this event was cancelled. Can the Prime Minister shed any light on why the Yoga Summit failed to launch?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We know on this side of the House how important it is for Canadians to deliver a strong message on the world stage, and our Prime Minister does that, and he did that in India. While the Conservatives are spending their energy and time playing with Canada's relationships abroad for partisan politics, we remain focused on actions that will benefit Canadians. That includes more than $1 billion in two-way trade investment with India that we announced during that visit. This will create 5,800 new Canadian jobs, work we're proud of.
The honourable member for Skeena-Balclay Valley.
Madam Speaker, in Northwest BC and across our province, wild salmon are the lifeblood of many communities. For generations, they return to our rivers in huge numbers. But as anyone out on the Skeena River last summer can tell you, wild salmon are in crisis, and this government is failing to act. We need funding for habitat restoration, for stock monitoring, and for climate adaptation, and we need it now. Will this government step up before it's too late?
Our Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Fisheries, Oceans and Canadian Coast Guard.
Madam Speaker, indeed, our government agrees wild salmon is a priority, specifically on the West Coast. And I think it's worth noting that the minister's first visit to British Columbia was with the Fraser Management Council, talking specifically about wild salmon, going up to Big Bar to take a look at the effects of the landslide. And when it comes to funding, Mr. Speaker, it was this government that put into place a $142 million salmon fund along with the province of British Columbia. We're doing more than the previous government ever did, and we're going to do more going forward. And I look forward to working with that member.
The honourable member for South Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Madam Speaker, resource workers are desperately looking for jobs to support their families, but this government has no plan for their future. Look at the latest proposal in Northern Alberta, the Tech Frontier Mine. Even the CEO of the company says that it makes no economic sense, and it will make it impossible for Canada to meet its climate targets, especially with Jason Kenney's government in power. When will the Liberals look to the future and deliver a real plan for Canadian workers and their communities?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, Canadians elected this government to protect the environment, grow the economy, advance reconciliation, and create good jobs. We think we've done all of the above, Madam Speaker. They also expect this government to oversee fair and thorough environmental assessments. This is a major project that is under active consideration by our government. Under the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act, a decision must be made on the project by the end of February 2020, and, Madam Speaker, we will do so.
The honourable member for Don Valley East.
Madam Speaker, our government is committed to supporting the middle class and creating an enabling environment to help others join the middle class. In December, the Finance Minister tabled a Ways and Means motion which proposes lowering additional taxes for the middle class. Can the Minister explain what this change would mean for Canadians across the country? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Prosperity and Middle Class.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank the member from Don Valley East for her question and tireless advocacy for her constituents. Since day one, our government has been working hard to strengthen and grow the middle class, and as our first order of business, we are lowering taxes for the middle class families and people working hard to join it, which means more money that can be used to do things like buy healthy foods, send kids to camp. This is just a next step in our plan to make life more affordable for our middle-class Canadians. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
The honourable member for Yellowhead.
Madam Speaker, since the Liberals were first elected, over $100 billion in energy projects have been lost. Thousands of jobs are gone, and national unity is damaged. The failure to approve the Tech Mine would make this problem even worse. Canada's Environmental Assessment Agency recommended this mine be approved. The project has signed agreements with all Indigenous groups who live near it. Will this government stop dividing the country and approve this science-based project?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Economic Development and Official Languages.
Thanks again to the honourable member for the question. Madam Speaker, as I said before, the government will consider a range of factors when they make a decision, including environmental impacts, advancing reconciliation, and, importantly, growing the economy. Madam Speaker, they also expect this government to oversee fair and thorough environmental assessments. That's what we are doing, Madam Speaker, and as I said before, we'll have a decision at the end of February 2020. Thank you.
The honourable member for Edmonton Millwoods.
Madam Speaker, Alberta's monthly economic activity index is at its lowest point since a recession. The government has overseen more than $100 billion in cancelled energy projects. Still, this government continues to delay the approval for the Tech Frontier mine, which would create 7,000 much-needed jobs. Wow. When will this government finally stand with energy workers, approve the Tech Frontier mine, and show the world that Canada is open for business?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
When it comes to the energy sector, one thing that we've been always working towards is making sure that good projects move ahead. When it comes to LNG Canada, one of the largest private sector investment in Canadian history, we were supportive. Line 3, we are supportive. Keystone XL, we are supportive. TMX, we bought it to make sure that it moves forward. We will work with the province of Alberta, the BC government, to make sure that good projects move forward in the right way. Thank you, Madam President.
The honourable member for Edmonton Manning.
Madam Speaker, this government wastes no opportunity to stand in the way of Alberta developing its resource sector. The $20.6 billion Tech Resources oil sand project will create thousands of jobs in Alberta when it's most needed. The Minister of Environment has announced that he will delay the government's decision to the end of this month on this project. Madam Speaker, this is very, very concerning. Can the Minister please tell us when will he approve the Tech Resources Frontier mine project?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Economic Development and Official Languages.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And just to remind the honourable member that under the law which this project is being assessed, the legislative timeline for Cabinet to make a decision is the end of February. I repeat, as they can with any project, Cabinet can approve the project with conditions, reject the project, or extend the legislative timeline. The project is being actively considered by our government, and no decision has been made.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Madam Speaker, the Tech project is very important and good for the Canadian economy. It represents over $20 billion in investments and 7,000 jobs that Canada needs. Unfortunately, the government is dragging its feet on this project. For 10 years, people have been working on this project. All of the paperwork has been completed step by step, correctly. They consulted 14 First Nations who are directly affected by the project. All of the approvals have been done by the provincial governments. Everything is ready except the Liberal government. So why is the Liberal government again hindering natural resource development in Canada?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Economic Development and Official Languages.
Madam Speaker, I will repeat again that this project is under active consideration by our government under the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act. A decision must be made by the end of February 2020. We are going to consider a range of factors in that decision, Madam Speaker: environmental impacts, advancing reconciliation, growing the economy, and creating jobs. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Shefford. Madam Speaker, the Bloc Québécois would like to offer its very sincere condolences to the family of Marie-Hélène Lévesque. Her murder demands an explanation. She was killed by a man who was known to be violent, a man who had already committed violent crimes against women. She is the 5th woman to be murdered in Quebec since December. We have to wonder if violence against women is being taken seriously enough. How could someone at the parole board allow this man to end up in the presence of Marie-Hélène Lévesque. The Honourable Government House Leader. Madam Speaker, there are no words to describe the tragedy of what happened, and I want to offer my condolences and thoughts to the family. We understand their pain. We are wondering the same thing. How could this have happened? So a full investigation has been launched so that we can find answers, and we want to make sure that this never happens again. The Honourable Member for Montarville. Madam Speaker, last Saturday, Raif Badawi and his former lawyer, who have been held as political prisoners in Saudi Arabia since 2012, were urgently hospitalized. They'd been on a hunger strike to protest their poor treatment in prison. Mr. Badawi's current lawyer, Mr. Erwin Kotler, called on emergency UN intervention to save their lives. Does the government, like the former Liberal Justice Minister, recognize the urgency of the situation, and will it join calls for the UN to intervene urgently and immediately to save the life of Mr. Badawi?
Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Madame la Présidente.
Madam Speaker, we stand in solidarity with Mr. Badawi and his family. The Prime Minister spoke directly to the Prince about this matter. And we have also raised this issue with the Saudi Minister of Foreign Affairs. Our goal is for Mr. Badawi to be reunited with his family.
Our member for Oshawa.
Madam Speaker, on December 12, 2019, Conservative members requested the release of the economic impact studies for the new NAFTA. It has now been over 50 days since that request was made. So, Madam Speaker, this government is asking us to ratify their agreement without even letting us see the economic impacts of the deal. They're stonewalling members of this House. Madam Speaker, so what exactly is this government hiding?
Secretary to the Minister, to the Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, Global Affairs Canada's chief economist is preparing analysis based on the December amendments, which improved the deal for Canada. As the Deputy Prime Minister had said previously, we absolutely intend to publish this analysis once it's finalized. I invite my honourable colleagues to put Canada and Canadians first and help us ratify this new NAFTA without delay.
Bravo. L'honorable député de Beauce.
The Honourable Member for Beauce. Madam Speaker, many businesses in my riding are concerned about the impact of the new NAFTA. The government made some significant concessions, and the agricultural sector has been hit especially hard. We recently learned that the government did not conduct any impact assessments on those concessions. We've asked for that information many times, but we've received nothing. When will this government finally take action and give us some real answers? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Merci, Madame la.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his question.
Global Affairs Chief Economist is preparing an analysis. As I said, I would encourage my honourable colleague to actually speak with businesses in his riding, and I know they are asking the government to ratify NAFTA as quickly as possible because Canadian businesses and workers depend on this important deal.
Alors, just want to remind members that there shouldn't be conversations going back and forth while someone has the floor. It's not very respectful. The Honourable Member for Chatham-Kent.
Madam Speaker, there is an aluminum extrusion and parts company in Chatham that has grown from over 250 employees to 250 employees in less than 10 years. We have all heard the government's talking points saying that 70% aluminum content is better than 0%, ignoring the reality that 70% is far less than our present market share. What we don't know is the real impact of the new NAFTA. Why does the government continue to refuse to release the economic analyses that we have requested? Release the documents.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And again, I want to thank aluminum workers and aluminum business for the excellent products that we produce here in Canada. Our government stands by our workers, by our businesses, and ensuring that they benefit from this new NAFTA. And as my colleague said, this new deal offers a minimum of 70% guarantee of aluminum content. The previous deal did not contain that guarantee, Madam Speaker. So I will encourage my colleague to work with us, to support us in ratifying this NAFTA, because that aluminum plant in his riding is depending on it.
The honourable member for Kitchener-Conestoga.
Madam Speaker, on January 8th, Canada was deeply shocked and saddened to learn that 57 Canadians and 29 permanent residents were among the 176 victims of the downed Ukraine International Airlines flight PS752. Following this tragic event, Canada sprung into action to support the families of the victims, and we work with our partners around the world to ensure a thorough investigation. Can the Minister of Public Safety update the House on the funding matching program to support these families who have experienced such great loss?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd also like to thank the member for this important question and the opportunity to inform Canadians of this important initiative. Canadians across Canada continue to mourn the victims tragically killed in the plane crash in Iran. The Canada Strong campaign has crowdsourced more than $500,000 to support the families. Our government will match donations to this fund up to $1.5 million. The funds will be used to support the families of the victims as they navigate through the long-term impacts of these tragic losses. Canada Strong and other fundraising efforts show how Canadians come together in solidarity to help their neighbours in time of need, and I would encourage all Canadians to consider offering their support.
The honourable member for Bow River.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Cystic fibrosis patients like Martin and Tabor, Alberta, are eagerly awaiting approval of a new, potentially life-saving drug. It is approved in other countries, like the United States, but Canada is falling behind. Even if it was approved, we need leadership from this government with the province to make sure it gets into the hands of the patients who need it. What is this government doing to make our system work for those suffering from rare diseases like cystic fibrosis?
Good question. Good question.
Honourable Minister of Health.
Speaker, and I share the member opposite's deep concern for patients who cannot access medication that many times can be very helpful for rare diseases. And we know that we've heard about this, whether it's at our Member of Parliament level in our constituency or at the national level, through the work that we've been doing on more affordable medication for Canadians. That's why the work that we're doing to develop a rare disease strategy in partnership with provinces and territories is so critical, because by working together we'll be able to accelerate the access to medication that can support these patients all across Canada. Thank you.
The honourable member for Niagara Falls.
Madam Speaker, in December I asked the Prime Minister why he had not reached out to the Australian government to preserve our federal excise exemption for 100% made Canadian wines. It's been nearly 2 months and still we're waiting for the government to act. We have about 8 weeks until the World Trade Organization releases its interim report. 700 wineries and 9,000 Canadian jobs are at risk because of this government's indifference. Why is the Liberal government risking the future of our Canadian wine industry by hesitating to act?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, I can assure you that our government understands the tremendous value that the wine industry brings to Canada and the contribution of the sector to Canada's reputation as a world-class agricultural producer. Our government will continue to stand up for Canadian workers and defend the interests of Canadian wine industry. We have been exploring ways to resolve the dispute with Australia, and our government is working closely with provinces on this issue and will continue to stand up for Canadian workers and this industry.
Well done. The honourable member for West Nova.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Keep waiting for lights, but there's no light. There we go. There you go. Today marks the day that Northern Pulp Mill in Pictou County, Nova Scotia, closes indefinitely. This is truly a somber day as it affects the livelihoods of mill workers in Pictou County, thousands of forest workers, and truckers from all regions in Nova Scotia. So my question is pretty simple. What is this Liberal government doing to help these families in Nova Scotia who no longer have jobs?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaker, we recognize the closure of the mill will have a very real impact on our forestry sector in Nova Scotia, and most importantly for workers. Our thoughts are with these workers and their families during what we know is a very difficult time. Federal services and programs are available to support them, and we've been in touch with the province to offer support. Actually, I was in Halifax last week talking to the minister himself. We will continue working with our partners to build a strong and sustainable forestry sector that remains a source of good, well-paying jobs. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
The honourable member for Canada, Carleton.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Recent StatsCan report shows that women are still much more likely than men to experience gender-based violence and unwanted sexual behavior at work and at school. Ce genre de comportement
This type of behavior is clearly unacceptable.
of women and gender equality update this House on what this government is doing to end gender-based violence in Canada. Merci.
The Honourable Minister of Women and Gender Equality.
Madam Speaker, my colleague from Canada, Carleton, is right. Gender-based violence is unacceptable, its consequences deeply harmful, and it is preventable. Our government moved forward with Canada's first federal strategy to address and prevent gender-based violence. We've clarified the definition of consent in law. We've invested in thousands of shelter spaces and affordable housing. We're working to create safer campuses and workplaces, and there's so much more work to be done, Madam Speaker. Survivors are counting on every colleague to put partisanship aside and create a future where no one has to say me too.
The honourable member for Elmwood Transcona.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. New Flyer Industries in Transcona is a world-class manufacturer of electric and diesel buses. Most of its sales go to the United States, and the Buy America policy has forced them to move more jobs to the U.S. They're not alone. This is happening to workers and companies across Canada. We've heard that Mexico got some relief from Buy America in the new NAFTA. So can the minister explain what efforts, if any, Canada made to protect Canadian jobs from Buy America and why they did not succeed?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank my colleague for his question. NAFTA is very important for Canadian businesses and Canadian workers. Our largest trading partner, 75% of Canada's trade is with the United States. And this NAFTA protects, especially in this environment of protectionism, this deal protects access to the important U.S. market for workers and businesses. I ask my honourable colleague to work with us on ratifying NAFTA as quickly as possible.
The honourable member for Fredericton.
Madam Speaker, I welcome comments from the Minister of Economic Development on ensuring the delivery of strategic regional investments and a focus on rural economic development. I agree with the government on the importance of cybersecurity in Canada. I also agree with the official opposition that funding a multinational billion-dollar corporation like MasterCard should not have happened. Can I expect the government to also invest in local Canadian projects in the maritime region like Cyber NB, designed specifically to be the hub for Canadian cybersecurity, already in the construction phase and at a cheaper price for Canadian taxpayers?
The Honourable Minister for Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I agree with my colleague that we want to support local entrepreneurs all across the country, and in particular in the Atlantic provinces. That's exactly why we decided to invest more in HoCoA, in a regional development agency, by investing $170 million more. It will be a pleasure to hear from her as to where we should support really good projects all across New Brunswick. And of course, my job is to make sure that all colleagues in this House are able to create good opportunities across the country. Thank you.
And that brings an end to question period. Tabling of documents. Dépôt de documents.
Tabling of documents.
Introduction of government bills. Dépôt de projet de loi émanant du gouvernement.
Introduction of government bills.
Statements by ministers. Déclaration de ministre.
Statements by ministers.
Reports from interparliamentary delegations. Rapport de délégation interparlementaire. Presenting reports from committees. Présentation de
Presenting reports from committees.
Introduction of private members' bills. Dépôt de projet de loi.
Introduction of private members' bills.
I would ask members to take their conversations outside. First readings of Senate public bills. Première lecture de projet de loi des...
First reading of Senate public bills.
Motion.
Motions.
Presenting petitions. Présentation.
Presenting petitions.
The honourable member for Nanaimo